The Hitachi 3500H series scanning electron microscope offers high-resolution imaging in a vacuum. With the SEM, the maximum sample size is 150 millimeters in diameter. However, when dealing with large samples, it is possible to crash the sample into the objective lens when tilting the sample. Let's now introduce our lab users. There are various parts for the scanning electron microscope. The chamber door is located on the front of the machine. When the machine is vented, the chamber door opens up to reveal the stage, which is located just behind the chamber door.
The lens is inside of the chamber. It is important to not crash a sample into the lens.
The X and Y knobs are used to move the stage from left to right and from forward to back. The Z-axis moves the stage up and down.
The tilt handle rotates the stage from 0 to 60 degrees. Be careful when tilting large samples. It is possible to crash the sample into the lens.
The EDS probe selector is located above the chamber. It is used to set the mode of the EDS probe. For our training video, the EDS probe will be set to imaging. The control box has various knobs to change the magnification, contrast, brightness, and focus. The knobs on the top right are used to adjust the stigmation and the X and Y directions when the stigmation screen is open. The two knobs on the top left, which are called the Image Shift Multifunction XK1, YK2 knobs, have different uses. Their use is defined in the K1, K2 display area of the status bar in the SEM software. Mounting samples will be located in a plastic box near the SEM. You can mount samples of all different sizes, with the maximum size being 150 millimeters in diameter. As stated before, remember that working with large samples greatly increases the risk of crashing the sample into the lens. The sample that you use in the SEM cannot be an insulator. If the sample is an insulator, it must be coated with gold using the gold sputter coater. Silicon is okay to use in the SEM. We will show the effects of using an insulator later on in this video. We will begin by showing how to mount a small sample. We put the mounting screws through the lock ring, the mounting shaft into the base. Put the lock ring into the base. And then we put this top into the mounting shaft. We place a small piece of double-sided conductive carbon tape onto the stub. We then stick the sample to the stub.
We want to use our height gauge to make sure that the height of the mounted sample is leveled even in one of two ways. The first way is to use the black line on the gauge. This indicates that you will use the black scale on the Z-axis. The second way is to align our mounted sample with the top of the height gauge. This indicates that you will use the red scale on the Z-axis. These two scales are used for setting your working distance. Later in this video, we will show the scales on the Z-axis. Please use the trash cans that are readily available throughout the clean room. If we want to look at the edge of a sample, we use a stub with an angled top. We place a piece of tape on the top and mount our sample so that the edge we want to look at is on the tip of the stub. If we want to mount an entire 4-inch wafer, we use a large mounting stub. Mount the sample using the tape the same way in which we mounted the other samples. Before we begin using the SEM, we must make sure that the LUT Copy 32 software is running. If it is not running, we must open the application. We can find it by going to Start, Programs, and then Startup. Start the SEM software by clicking the icon on the desktop.
Once it is loaded, we must make sure that the high voltage is off. Do not leave the high voltage on when venting the chamber. The software is now initialized, and we must now make sure that the hardware is set properly.
We need to make sure the stage inside the chamber is set to the loading position. The loading position has a tilt set to 0, the y-axis set to 25, and the x-axis set to 60. We then adjust the Z position so that the black arrow is pointing to 30 on the black numbers or 25 on the red numbers. When you're moving your sample in the chamber, remember which scale you used when aligning the height of your sample with the height gauge. Using the wrong scale can crash your sample into the lens. In case you forget, the exchange position sticker on the right side of the SEM has the venting position listed on it.
When we are doing imaging in the SEM, we want to make sure the EDS probe is set to imaging. There is an arrow on the scale showing the correct position for imaging. Rotate the knob until the arrows line up. We are now ready to vent the chamber. Vent the chamber by pressing the evac off button on the front of the machine. After pressing the button, the red light will come on indicating that the chamber is now venting. It takes a few minutes for the chamber to vent. The bar on the software indicates when the chamber has been vented completely as well. The chamber door will open by itself when it reaches atmospheric pressure. If the software indicates the chamber being vented but it does not open, the lock screw located on the base of the chamber door might be tightened. Loosen the lock screw for the door to open. Never pull on the chamber door. It will open by itself when it reaches atmospheric pressure. Carefully put the stub into the stage. Make sure to put the stub in straight. Do not tilt it. Put it in and gently slide it in. If you feel any resistance, do not force it. You can crush the metal sleeve inside the mounting hole. Make sure the stub is fully seated once you put it in. If you're using the 45-degree stub, place the stub so that the angled edge is facing to the left. This is done so that when the stage is tilted, the edge of the sample will be perpendicular